Okay, hello everyone, and I guess we are live now. Can I get a thumbs up in the chat for getting started? So I can see you guys are able to see us first of all with this session. If you guys are able to hear us properly and able to see, then we are go ahead and you guys can confirm in the comment section in the chat that we are good to start. Okay. Okay, thank you, Ashish, for confirming, and thank you everyone for joining today. And as this is our webinar series, uh, second webinar on the entire series of the DevOps and the cloud expertise. So here we are coming up with the second module in this entire series. So first of all, in the previous series, whoever with us, so they already know that okay, the series which we are running in that we are basically coming up with the different industry experts who are coming from the different background, sharing their knowledge, and also they are helping you to upskills yourself, take the uh, tips and the points from their experience and expertise. So this is basically in the previous session we just kick started with the all the key points, and that was on the cloud side. Now the second topic we come up with the DevOps, and we have with us Abhishek Kesari, and he's MLOps lead and has very hands-on or deep dive hands-on expertise on the DevOps tools as well as the cloud DevOps side. So Abhishek is going to share his input and his valuable insight on the different aspects. Like let's say if you are coming from a non-tech background or maybe you are just starting your career. So in that case, whatever the key topics, key tools that you should know aware. Some of the tools you might be using during your colleges or during your company project, but yes, apart from that, like if you want to start working, so in that case DevOps nowadays is a key things that is basically going to be used, where in most of the organization they are using agile methodology with DevOps. So on that Abhishek is here who is going to share his input. And as there are the in this webinar also we are keeping the same thing which we have discussed in the previous also. We who have like this is an entire series, like I got some input from multiple people who are saying we enrolled in the webinar and we attended the webinar and we didn't receive any goodies and those things. So it's basically a series, it's not like one webinar you need to attend, it's a series where you need to go in the webinar, attend the webinar, you need to get the input, share your thoughts, and then answer the question, and then after that the goodies will be counted at the end of the entire series, it's not like at the end of the webinar. So I would recommend that okay, we please go through all the webinar in the entire series, and also feel free to add your comments, everything in the chat, whatever is your questions and everything on that. So we would like to start on this note with Abhishek, and I will hand over to Abhishek over here to get started and share his input on basically DevOps side. So welcome, Abhishek.
Yeah, thank you, Diksha. Thanks for a quick intro. Yeah, hello everyone. Today we will be understanding about the some of the basic concepts, the workflows, the advantages, disadvantages about DevOps. If you are the newbies who are trying to jump into the DevOps field or wanted to start their career into DevOps, even though if you are from any other tech background and you want to jump into the DevOps, when I'm saying the DevOps, it might be DevOps, platform engineering, SRE, any of that, because these are some branches which are interrelated with each other. So we will be starting with the DevOps. What does it mean by DevOps? So let's start without wasting further time. We should start with the DevOps introduction. So DevOps, as we already know, some of you guys may have heard this term with respect to development and operations. So here it comes with the two phrases. First one is your development, and the second one is your operations. So if you go and understand what does it mean by development and operations, we will able to interpret this word in a better way. So development stands for whatever the features with respect to any of the enterprise applications, may it be a personal project, may it be enterprise application, any of the projects. So there, whatever the features you develop with respect to any application are the part of your development. Here, the programming team is involved. Okay, so there are many people who does programming in Python, in Java, in C, C++, whatever the programming language, whatever the tool set they might be having, they will be dealing with this development part. Okay, so development is pretty much simple. We can understand that this is some kind of a software engineering or software development engineer kind of job role, which does the coding part, and develop the feature for the application. Then what does it mean by the operations? So operations is another component. Operations means infra, then your management with respect to features, monitoring. There are multiple other things that are going in the background. Okay, so if you think writing a code is not a big deal, even though writing a clean and neat code something can be counted as a complex task, but writing a code anyone can write it. That's the my more that's the my way of thinking, because you can have a basic understanding of code and can develop the features. But the thing is, like, whenever you develop a feature, it should be run on top of some kind of infrastructure. May it be your local desktop, right? So suppose if you are writing a code for a kind of LLM, like, think in a way that you are developing a chat GPT kind of application, and you are using your local desktop to do that. The clear answer is that in this way of dealing the project, or the way that you are approaching towards your goal, is completely wrong. That's we can say, because the local desktop or local machine will not able to handle this kind of complex code
Sorry to
or this.
interrupt, Abhishek. Are you sharing your screen?
Oh, is it not visible?
That's what
Let
I
me.
joined again. No, no, it's not visible. That's sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
Okay, so here are we. So with respect to operations, if you are trying to deal something complex or application is heavy in the terms of the resources here I mean a RAM, CPU, maybe your hard disk or SSD, whatever the components that are needed to run the code. If these resources are limited, you will not able to run your code. Then the first key component for developing an application is, like, you should have an infrastructure. It's basically means whatever the RAM, CPU, GPU, hard disk, SSD, these kind of hardware components that you're gonna need to run your code. May it be your actual hardware pieces, or may it be you are getting these from the cloud. So most of the companies right now, they are dealing with the cloud technologies, so that they don't need to spend their money buying this hardware stuff, setting up this electronic infrastructure, and then managing that. So most of the teams or the companies that are dealing with the DevOps are migrating towards the cloud. So cloud is the integral part of DevOps. Okay. So with respect to DevOps, what we have understood right now. So if we have a code, we want to run that code with respect to any application, then we should have an infrastructure. And on top of that, infrastructure management will be there. So you have to understand your code, whatever the needs for your code to run. Okay. So if your program is complex, then your infrastructure will definitely be complex, right? Then this management part will come into picture, right? And once your application is live, let's consider for it live, then you have further tasks, like we have to see the application, monitor it, we have errors and all, right? So overall, let's understand the process of DevOps in a way, like it's a integral part of your software development life cycle, and DevOps performs crucial roles in each and every step of your SDLC, right? So from the development, even though your programmer is writing the code, still you need to provide them infrastructure where they are able to run their code, or they are able to develop their code. After you have given the infrastructure, then your role will come into picture as a management person for the whatever the application that you are running, or whatever the project that you are running. You have to perform it some management related task, not with respect to non-technical management. I am saying with respect to code management. Let's consider you are using a database gets filled up, right? You need to increase its storage, this kinds of stuff. These these small tasks, these are not small tasks, but these operations, these tasks we can consider it as our operations. After your application is fully developed, fully functional, you are going live with your application, then there is something called as the monitoring will come into picture, where you have to monitor or you have to observe your application, so that if there are some kind of errors are there, ideally you are able to catch them prior to any mishap or any incident occurs, like your application is facing downtime, these kind of things. So here the operations part is there. So DevOps is nothing but, DevOps is a job role that we can say, that supports your software development life cycle from end to end. Okay. So now DevOps has evolved in multiple sub branches. So that branches we will touch. But first let's understand proper way what is DevOps. Okay. So if we have to look into the what is DevOps, so DevOps is nothing but an automation, deployment automation, test automation, build automation. In short, we can say DevOps is automating all the operations part, right? So you will be, as a developer or as a DevOps engineer, you will be the person who is responsible for automating operation tasks. What are the operations tasks? We need to understand it first. So operation task means, suppose you are having an server. Server gets exhausted with its RAM or with its CPU or with its storage. You need to increase its storage or its resources in the terms of RAM and CPU. At that time, there will be a manual intervention that will be there. Understand an example, like you have a server, its server gets exhausted, you get it from the customers, that customers are raising tickets from whatever the UI that they are using, then they are not able to handle this UI properly, or they are seeing some downtime. Actually it's kind of a bad reputation for any of the organization, or as any of the software engineer in the software engineering principles. If you have to see, it looks like you are not enough capable to host your application in a way where your application is able to handle the number of users. Here the main concern, the main manual intervention that came into picture was like your server gets exhausted, right? If you have to increase the RAM and CPU, there are two ways. First way, you go, you stop the server, you increase the RAM and CPU, and then again you start the server. You will be having a downtime. Okay. So ultimately what you did this same steps that needs to be performed, that are the ideal steps that everyone should do and everyone will do, but the cause or the complications that you have faced is like your application has delivered some kind of downtime. So this is not a good way to solve this issue. So let's consider another way. You know that you are monitoring your application right now. You have a server which is utilizing some kind of RAM and CPU, and you are monitoring that server through some kind of tools, and you see that 80% of the server storage or 80% of the RAM and CPU is already occupied. Within next 5-10 minutes, 20-30 minutes, my server is going to get exhausted. So before incident happens, this is the right time you have to take an approach, and it will not be a manual approach. You are a human being, you will not able to keep on observing a single server for 24/7 and then identify that this issue is going to arise in the next 20-30 minutes and you are going to do this operation. No, that will not be a way. Here you have to perform some kind of automation. Okay. So automation will be like you will be writing some kind of script which triggers a notification. If you are a corporate guys, you might know Slack. Slack is kind of social media for corporates, very much similar to Microsoft Teams. So you will write a script that will trigger a notification to Slack or your Microsoft Teams, will notify your IT engineers. Okay, and then ideally they will perform this storage, increase the storage for that server, or changing the type of your server to more amount of RAM and CPU. This kind of stuff IT engineers will do. So the first approach was like just notify them. Second approach, if you have to see, the second approach will be like you on your own write a script which will increase the storage or RAM and CPU. So the second approach seems feasible to me. We are at 80% consumption. Within next 20 minutes, we are going to get exhausted. We have our program or script, whatever word you seem feasible. That program will be responsible and for triggering up at 80% consumption, and that program is responsible to increase the storage, increase the RAM and CPU of your instance, right? So using that, what will happen? There is no manual intervention. Okay, so DevOps is specifically trying to achieve as much as minimal manual intervention should be there. Ideally, we are focusing as a DevOps engineer. Our main goal is like there should be no manual intervention, everything should be automated. The main advantages that you see after implementing DevOps principle is like there are no manual intervention, so there is no human errors. So human errors is a, even though we try our best to develop the application in a very principled manner, still we are humans, we might do some kind of mistakes, and that might not cause that might cause us a very impact in the long term, or might be some kind of downtime. Okay, so the as a DevOps principle, the we have to think in a way where we are automating everything. There is no manual intervention, and when there is no manual intervention, there is efficiency in the terms of speed is definitely there, right? Because we are not wasting time in making human based decisions, right? We are using some kind of script, some kind of programming language or programming logic which will be responsible for taking decisions depending upon the whatever scenarios it has. So what it will do ultimately, it will be helpful in saving the costs, because humans definitely perform less with respect to programs of the computers, right? Human takes times to perform an operations. So whenever a human is there, so a person takes a time to act is definitely more than the program or the whatever the script that you have scheduled. The second thing is like you will be having no human intervention, so there are no chances of human errors, and everything is automated, so you don't have to uh, think for the same problem again and again. You have done the automation at a single go. You have to make sure that your script or whatever the thing that you have written or engineered should work as expected. That's what only you have to be concerned about. You don't need to specify some extra brainstorming. You don't need to do some extra brainstorming sessions on same the problem every time. So the ultimate concept of the DevOps in my term is like wherever you can introduce the automation into the software development life cycle, whichever department it is, means it might be your data engineering, might be your development, might be your security. Everything should be automated. That's the principle of DevOps, and that's how a DevOps engineer works. The DevOps engineer or the overall principles of the DevOps revolve around the principle of automation. So here what we are seeing is like build automation and continuous integration. So means whenever we are building some kind of some kind of applications in one go cannot be built, right? We have to do keep on running the cycles each and every time to make it more efficient, right? So there we perform build automation. Once application has developed some kind of features, so suppose you have developed a calculator, right? Definitely you're gonna need to test that calculator. So for testing also we will introduce test automation. There might be tools which you guys might know, like Selenium. Okay, so Selenium will be tool for test automation that will test it similar way the human does. Similarly, there is the deployment automation. So deployment means what? So whenever you are releasing your application to the real world, right? Instead of deployment, for your understanding, you can consider it as a hosting, right? So you are hosting your application on some kind of cloud, some kind of servers. There you also need to perform the automation part. These three steps will be there in your DevOps life cycle as a mandatory steps. And the ultimate aim for these steps are, these steps can be performed manually, but we are providing here automation so that these steps will be efficient. So ultimately you can consider as the DevOps as a automation. I am not saying DevOps is a completely automation thing. DevOps, if we have to segregate, DevOps is about 30% of automation, and the rest of the other principles are there that we are going to see and understand. Then we will understand the whole DevOps, what is the terminologies of DevOps. DevOps is not a technology. DevOps is a way of thinking, right? You can do the DevOps stuff by using single programming language as well, right? If you know Python very well, if you know C++ very well, you can do all the automations. You don't need to learn any specific tools with respect to DevOps, right? Definitely there are tools that are developed there to make us the tasks very easy, right? So that we can perform this task very easily. We don't need to write a code for each and everything. So that's why the people have developed the tools that we can use. But many people think that DevOps is the technology, right? No, DevOps is not a technology. DevOps, you can consider it as a DevOps way of thinking. Whatever you can automate is a DevOps, right? DevOps word definitely stands for development and operations, right? But DevOps has larger point of view. It will touch your platform engineering, it will touch your site reliability engineering, FinOps, DevOps. These things we're gonna see into the some next slides. Yeah. So whatever the to understand the DevOps better, we have to understand what are the principle DevOps actually looks into. So first thing is like collaboration. So collaboration is like, consider if you are working in an organization, definitely there will be not a single team, right? There will be multiple teams, like front end engineers are there. Each team have multiple peoples, right? There are front end engineers, back end engineers, data engineers will be there, DevOps engineers will be there. Every team is working for same project, but every team is working independently. So what happens usually is that there is silos is created. Silos means what? One team is dependent on another team, and another team depends on another team. Means A depends on B, B depends on C, C depends on A. So they everyone is going to get stuck, right? If you have to take a example about that, so let's say we have a front end team, back end team, and a data engineering team. So let's think in a way where front end team is saying that backend feature is not yet completed, so we are not developing front end, because until or unless we have the routes or the backend working, then there is no point of delivering the front end prior to that, right? Backend team is dependent on the data engineering team, and data engineering team says that uh, we are blocked due to some kind of other limitations. Some kind of any other limit might be their database is not upgraded, any kind of issue you can think. So what is happening here? Every team is dependent on one another, so the whole workflow is blocked, right? So DevOps actually tries to segregate them. The isolation will be there with respect to teams. We identify the tasks as uh, we identify the task with respect to each team in an isolated way. So if we have to resolve this kind of dependency issues, DevOps will jump in here. Okay, so DevOps people will collaboratively work on all these three teams, with front end, with back end, with data engineering. Okay, they're gonna first resolve the data engineering issue, then they're gonna support the back end team, then they're gonna help front end team to release their front end or host their front end. Okay, so DevOps people are actually helping these three teams. Hmm. Right now we are taking it as an example as three teams, might be more, might be less, doesn't matter. Okay, but what DevOps is actually doing is like they are supporting overall development. Even though it's front end, it's development. Even though it's back end, it's development. Even though it's data engineering, it's development, right? So they are actually developing something. Even though if you think in a machine learning way, it's also development. They are developing machine learning models, right? So what actually DevOps does is like DevOps collaborates with different teams, support them using the principles of automation to identify the issues, to resolve the issues. They write some kind of scripts to help them. So let's take an example for backend. So your let's consider your team is using some kind of Python based applications, and your company has a compliance issue where your company cannot download any open source applications, right? Any open source software libraries are there, this kind of stuff you cannot download. So if you have to deal with this kind of problem, your backend team will definitely gonna need the help from DevOps. Here DevOps will do what? DevOps is gonna fetch that library. So suppose your Python application needs Pandas library. Pandas library will be downloaded by DevOps engineer, will be scanned by DevOps engineer using security principles. Okay, means what we are doing, we are downloading some external from it's not trustworthy. That's why we are downloading from the we need to download something from the open source and it's not trustworthy that much. So we are going to internet, we are downloading something from the internet, then we are using security tools, security principles, and then scanning that product or that's pandas library and then delivering it into the our backend team. Right now, backend team needs pandas library at any cost, and it's completely depends upon the DevOps. Why? Because DevOps is the one who gonna fetch that thing, who gonna verify that thing it's working. It doesn't have any kind of severe issues with respect to any compliance thing. Compliance means security concerns. That's what I'm talking about. It is very fair. So if you guys might know, Log4j issue has rose up in the last 2 to 3 years ago. So that's kinds of similar thing I'm talking about here. So DevOps works collaboratively with every team to support their development. Right? Developers are just going to write the code, but we are the ones who gonna support them. Okay, think in a way that someone is preparing recipe, and whatever the things that are needed or the materials that are needed to perform the recipe, you are the one who is providing that. Without you providing the materials, no one is going to complete that recipe. That way DevOps works with the developers. Okay, and here developers as well as the operations. So operations, if you think in a way, operations might be multiple operations like security, then you have your IT operations. IT and security, what does it mean? Security is security wise, as we discussed the example. Security is a very critical thing if we have to identify it. If we have to identify, security says that whatever you are getting it from the open source or whatever is not there into our existing environment, if you are trying to fetch it from somewhere else, please make sure that it will not affect us adversely, right? So that is the thing that security is dealing with. If you see the operations might be any kind of operations. It completely depends upon. So if you are working in an MNC has a IT operations specifically responsible for installing the softwares, right? But what that IT team does, they are just installing VS Code or just installing any kind of software that's you gonna need. No, they verify the license, they verify the authenticity of the softwares that they are installing on top of your machine. Okay, so collaboration works in this way. So let's consider you have worked collaboratively with the backend team. Now you have delivered your pandas package to the backend team and it's working fine as expected. Now what you gonna need, what next time the backend team comes up with another requirement for SQL package, there is the process wise it's very much similar. You need to fetch it from the open source, then scan it for the vulnerabilities, and then deliver it into the backend team. Here you can introduce the automation, because the only thing that is changed here is not the approach, it's only the name of the package, rest of the stuff is same. So you have to identify first process, you have to first identify the process, and then you have to write some kind of codes programs that will help us to perform this task in an automated way using that script or whatever the tools you might go and use. So continuous, so automation deals with automating the repetitive tasks. Okay, repetitive task, there are very less chances exact same task you might need, but there are very high chances that you might see the same similar kind of processes everywhere, right? In the first go you were downloading the pandas, definitely in the next time you are not going to download pandas, but the next time you might need to download something else, like SQL package is there, PySQL might be there, PyMongo kind of package might be there. Okay, then let's go to the continuous integration. Continuous integration is like, if you have to say, continuous integration means whenever you integrate the different stages, hmm, of your software development lifecycle. Whenever you integrate your different stages of software development lifecycle. So build. Usually, if we have to split our SDLC or the DevOps into three stages, these might be there, right? Sorry. Deployment. So let's think in a way. So first stage is the your build. Build deals with the building of whatever features you wanna build up. It completely depends upon the application to application. For Netflix, you might develop some kind of video player functionality. With respect to GeoStar, you might develop some kind of streaming functionality. Features completely depends upon the applications. But while developing the features, are we just going to deal with a single technology? Definitely not. We gonna use multiple technologies, like Kafka is there, unlimited technologies are there. You have your databases, you have your streaming libraries, you have your testing libraries. Apart from that, multiple things are there into the market. If we cannot go one by one to everything, right? So build, when it comes with the CI, it actually deals with the integration of other technologies. Okay, so consider in a way, whenever you are integrating your Python code with your database. Okay, so whenever you are just a minute. So whenever you are dealing that your Python code is integrated to your database, prior you run to your code, your database needs to be there, right? Means you have developed your application. Okay, you have developed completely your application is using some kind of MongoDB. Okay, here when we are seeing the build as a feature with respect to CI, continuous integration. Okay, so your application package is completely depends on the database. Until or unless database is not there, your application will not be fully functional. So think in a way where you are introducing a line of script, a complete script or a complete piece of code which helps us to deploy or make available all the dependencies that are there. Okay, so for building a feature we need a database. Okay, so we have developed a script which first creates database, then builds feature. Okay, in that way continuous integration works. The continuous integration, if you think that example was complex, let's see in a other way. We have developed a feature, that's fine. Right now we need to test our feature. Okay, so with respect to testing, we might have multiple test cases. First test cases, let's consider we have unit testing. Okay, then we have integration testing. Hmm. Then we have UAT, not UAT, let's drop it out. It's something with respect to more of a UI feel wise. So let's consider we have SAST, static application testing, and we have DAST, SST and DAST, dynamic application testing. So these kind of test cases are there. So each test case, unit test might need some kind of different tool. Okay, integration test, definitely gonna need some kind of different tool. For SAST we might use different tool, and for DAST we might need a different tool. To be honest, if we have to perform this test for unit testing, we will deal with the JUnit. Then PyTest is there for integration testing. For SAST and DUST we might use GitLab or some kind of external tool. If we need to deal with it, might be Snyk. Okay, so the a single step is there with respect to testing, but various tools, various technologies we are using, and we are integrating them into our process. This process is called as a pipeline in the terms of DevOps. Okay, and what we are doing, we are integrating multiple different tools to our process or pipeline in the name of test. Means we have three sections: build, test and deploy. Into test we have multiple other subsections. These four subsections deal with four different tools, and we are integrating these tools with our process, and our process is continuous, it will keep on growing, right? So that's why it is called as the continuous integration process. So think in a way, you have built the feature, you have tested the feature, so you have released the feature. Okay, some years pass on, you identify that our feature is quite outdated. Again, you build the feature, again, you test the feature, again, you deploy the feature. That is the reason we call it as the continuous integration. Okay, continuously, we're gonna integrate some kind of new technologies, terminologies with our pipeline or process that will help us to enhance our application. That's how continuous integration is. Continuous delivery or deployment. So continuous delivery and the deployment deals with the how we can make our application live. Okay, so if we have to see in that way, for making our application live we can use K8s as a Kubernetes as a platform. Then we have some kind of hosting services. Okay, other platform hosting platforms, as well as we can use some, if we have to think, cloud providers also we can use. Okay, for the deployment process also we have some kind of subsections. Using that subsections we are integrating our new technologies, and we are delivering the application. So there are two things: continuous delivery and continuous deployment. So whenever there is a feature life cycle, so let's consider you are using an iOS application. iOS application gets updated every month end, right? So you are some kind of enhancements you are publishing at every month end. It's called as a delivery, right? Because you are doing this thing after a certain period of time as a part of enhancement to the existing application. But if you have to provide an application who is a new user, okay, so you go to market and you buy some kind of Office 365 product. Now Office 365 product, it gets installed onto your system. It gets installed onto your system one time, it gets updated into your system after a certain amount of period, right? So whenever there is a one time activity, you can call it as a deployment. And whenever the activity with respect to an application maintenance where you are uh, helping application to perform better, or you are dealing with some kind of efficiency, then it's delivery. And the core intention is like you are automating these various tools with respect to delivery or deployment through the continuous process. Understand it, continuous process it is, right? You have deployed the application, you have tried to perform some kind of enhancement, and again you are doing the same thing, right? So this is a continuous ongoing loop. So that's what you can expect from continuous deployment and delivery. With respect to monitoring with respect to monitoring, if we have to say, let's consider you have released an application for UPI payments. Okay, you will be having a team, or you will be having a set of tools which will be monitoring your application and understanding the application performance. What time it performs very well, when it performs in what time of duration, what specific hours it performs very badly. This kind of things you gonna monitor, so that you can get more understanding about the application. You can have um, clear picture where you need to improve yourself in the terms of application development, so that your application can perform in a better manner. So monitoring deals with that part. Okay, so advantages of using DevOps is like faster time release to market. So till now what we have understood is like, or DevOps stands for DevOps actually focuses more on to automation and integrating with various tools to avoid a human intervention. Definitely if there is no human intervention and your process is automated, definitely you're gonna release your features or your applications faster to the market. Okay, you have continuous delivery, so that what it's gonna look like is like, suppose if your developer is here and it pushes his code into the GitHub. So GitHub takes the code, it builds the code. Okay, builds the code means what? It makes your code uh, in a binary format or kind of packaged format, which can be used directly to run the application. Then your code gets tested, and then your code gets deployed. This whole process till the deployment, from pushing to GitHub, it's completely automated. So developer needs to be only concerned about whatever the time he gonna need with respect to development. Once the development is done, if he pushes his code into the source code management tool, might be Bitbucket or GitHub, then a continuous process will flow for build, test, and deploy. This process will build a package, this process will test the package, this process will deploy the package. Then with respect to monitoring, you have a separate team. Okay, so now, as we discussed earlier, DevOps works with every team independently in isolation manner. So DevOps has a better understanding about whatever the project structure and how it is flowing. So it helps in the better collaboration with the team. So suppose if backend team has some kind of issues with respect to front end team, the DevOps in between helps the both the teams to resolve in a better way. Okay, improved efficiency and productivity. As human intervention will not be there, you will definitely see cost efficiency with respect to automation. And it's when you set up a process or a pipeline for a DevOps, then you don't need to maintain, or you don't need to perform the kind of same R&D operations onto the same pipeline. so the productivity is increased in another manner. Let's think in a way, you have developed a pipeline, now your application gets released automatically. There is no hassle to your brain with respect to how your application is getting released, right? There might be some kind of package improvements or some kind of software improvements will definitely be there, but there is no uh, not such things that are gonna bother you with respect to completely new development or completely new R&D, right? So that time you can put into some another issues that will definitely increase your productivity. So what I am trying to say here is like, using the DevOps principle, you can automate the things, and the time you're gonna spend doing that thing manually, you can use as a productive time and do some kind of different thing. Faster issues and detection resolution. So if you have to understand this, so you have set up a complete automation workflow. A single workflow is visible through your is visible throughout the project through the DevOps pipeline. So DevOps engineer has a higher view than other teams for a end-to-end flow of the project. So he can definitely detect any issues that are ongoing, uh, to deal with he can detect the any issues that are ongoing or that he might able to identify through the process of pipeline, and he will able to resolve it properly because everything is in front of him, right? Enhance the security. So ideally, the recently this trend has been seen into the market that people are actually including the security principles into the DevOps pipeline. Okay, so when we are dealing with the testing, after the testing, there are some processes for scanning as well. Okay, here you might see into some organization there is a process for code scanning. Okay, so code scanning, vulnerability scanning, these kind of steps will be there that are responsible for understanding if there are any significant security concerns are there. So this will definitely increase our security. As there is the automation is there, so better resource management will be there, so you can leverage your human resources to some other projects, some other tasks, rather than performing same task multiple times. Okay, so DevOps has been split up into multiple branches right now. So the what I understood from the market is like, if you know the DevOps, you might work with another team and you might get another title. Okay, the people who are specifically working with the front end back end team and performing automation for operations, they are called it as the DevOps. The people who are able to work with cybersecurity engineers, might be cybersecurity teams and performing automations there, they called as SecOps. Right now I am working as an MLOps as my job. What I am dealing here, whatever the uh, development support for the machine learning engineers or for the AI engineers that are gonna need in the terms of automation, that I am providing them, right? And I am called as the MLOps. So if you have to understand the data, if you have to understand the DevOps terminology, it's like whichever the team you sit up with and perform the automation, that team plus ops will be there. Okay, so if you are working with AI team and performing operations or kind of automation tasks, then you are called as the AI ops. Similarly, the platform engineering is something different. Platform engineer, we can say a person who is responsible for doing development, DevOps hand in hand. Okay, development and a DevOps hand in hand. Earlierly, what I was saying is like, DevOps is like supporting the development, supporting the development or engineering department to perform in a better way. Right now what I am saying, you are the person who is actually performing the DevOps tasks as well as the development tasks, means as a software engineer plus a DevOps engineer. If you are that guy, you are a platform engineering expert, right? So apart from that, if any fresher or any person who wants to jump into DevOps, he has to know some of the basic tools, at least these tools he should know to start his or her career with the DevOps. So Linux is an operating system that is very mandatory. Cloud, you can be comfortable with any cloud, that's fine. Made by Azure, made by AWS, made by GCP, whichever cloud is there. At least one of these three cloud you should know. Then Git and GitHub is specifically for source code management. Then Jenkins is there. Jenkins is your CI/CD tool. CI/CD tool means what? Whatever the automations that you're gonna perform is with this CI/CD tool. Terraform is your infrastructure as a code. Infrastructure as a code means what? So suppose if you want to perform and if you want to create an EC2 instance with respect to AWS, right? One EC2 instance, two EC2 instance you can create manually, but when it comes to thousands of EC2 instance, 1000 EC2 instance, you definitely gonna not perform through manual approach, right? There you need to write some kind of codes, right? So Terraform is the thing. Terraform is a language we can say that we can use to write a cloud infrastructure automation code. Okay, so if you have a code, you run it, 1000 EC2 instance will get created. So there is no manual intervention, so there is no chance for getting any manual issues or human errors that we say. Docker is the containerization tool with respect to build. We are using, so we have seen that build test deploy thing, right? So with respect to build, actually we build our Docker images. So whatever application we have, we put it inside our Docker image and build a Docker image. So when it comes with the build stage, we are basically dealing with the Docker. Definitely there are other packages or other artifacts tools like Maven, Gradle are there, but most of the times we will be dealing with the Docker. Kubernetes is a kind of container orchestration platform where whatever the package you have built through the Docker, through other ways as well like Maven, Gradle, you can deploy on top of Kubernetes and host these packages to real world. And using the Kubernetes you get a lot of feasibility with respect to management of the application. Okay, then we have Ansible is something which is responsible for configuration management. Configuration management means what? So let's consider example for your IT department has their work to install some kind of software to various teams, right? They have pre-written the scripts, might be in Ansible, might be in any other tool like Chef Puppet is also there as a in the market, but Ansible is most demanding right now. So these tools helps us to install softwares on top of your servers or on top of your local machines, right? So Ansible is something which helps us installing softwares only. So that's we can say for configuration management. Prometheus and Grafana both work collaboratively. Prometheus is something which exports the application logs to Grafana. Means what? So if you have a application, let's consider I have my this Paytm application logs will be exported by Prometheus to Grafana, and Grafana is responsible for showing that logs in the terms of graphs. Okay, so that's how you can see. So Grafana, if you have to see, there are some dashboard, Grafana dashboard. Hmm. So if we see images, this kind of graph dashboards will be created for your application. Okay, and it represents whatever the application performance, the latency, and the other parts. And at the end, there is SNCC. SNCC is, as discussed, it's for code scanning, understanding code vulnerabilities. There are any issues with that. Then we have scripting languages, Python or Bash. I prefer these two things. One of these will be definitely helpful in your career if you know one of these languages, right? So DevOps pipeline, as we discussed, comes with the plan, then the infrastructure creation using Terraform, then your code will be stored onto GitHub using source code management, then using GitOps principle or uh, various branching techniques. we will be performing our development. Once the development is done, we will be performing testing with respect to code, like integration, unit testing, functional testing, this kind of things we will perform in the testing. Then we have the build step where we will be developing our Docker image, might be a Maven or Gradle package. Then we will perform UAT, SAST, and DAST. This kind of testing we will perform. Then our application will get deployed, right? After application gets deployed, there are monitoring phase. We have to continuously monitor our application, and along with that, we have to also keep an eye into the security concerns. If there are any compliance issues that we are breaking up, or any security enhancement, because this most of the times we are using open source packages. These packages gets updated frequently, we don't know. There are definitely some chances that some kind of vulnerabilities might arise. So even though if you are monitoring your application, you have to keep an eye into security enhancement as well. So with respect to career growth, I can say DevOps is actually working with each and every team. Okay, DevOps is working with your front end, back end, data engineering, whatever team into your organization. With respect to technicalities, they definitely gonna need help from DevOps. So it's not like that AI can take over the DevOps. Definitely not. So the job role that MLOps is dealing with, or AI Ops is dealing with, how we can automate the process of development of AI, right? So DevOps is a platform. On top of that, every other tools and technologies get developed. First, you have DevOps. On top of that, you have front end. On top of that, back end. On data engineering, there will be your MLOps, AI Ops, this kind of tools, even the blockchain as well. These technologies are dependent on DevOps, not completely, but partially, some way or another. They definitely gonna need DevOps. So DevOps is always in a boom. It's uh, it's trending from up from the rise of IT era, I can say, right? From the starting point of this IT, they are focusing more on how we can efficiently perform software development lifecycle, and DevOps has played a crucial role in the development of software development lifecycle. So with respect to DevOps, the salary wise and the tool set wise, definitely it's very much up to the latest. You have to keep on learning new technologies. So if you are a person who wants to learn new tools and technologies, you should go with the DevOps. And the salary wise, definitely DevOps salary is more than the developer, the data scientist, whoever you can say. So this is an average. That's what I am talking about. So there might be some exceptions, like someone from the Microsoft as a developer might be earning 40 lakhs. But if you see the DevOps engineer from the Microsoft, then definitely you see the package, salary package wise, it's much more. So salary wise, tools, technologies wise, it's latest, high end, always in the trend. So definitely you will see career growth in the DevOps. You can start your career with the Linux admin, then you can go to cloud ops, then you can go to the DevOps, then platform engineering, then architect. This is how a kind of roadmap I see for the DevOps people. So I started my career with the similar way. So I started with the DevOps, then I jumped into platform engineering. Right now I'm into MLOps. So that's way you can proceed ahead. Apart from that, with respect to DevOps, if you guys have any questions, you can ask me. Okay. Yeah. So let's go one by one. Python Go plays how much role in the DevOps? Okay. So Python, with respect to Go, Go has a functionality for parallelism that is definitely efficient than Python. But when it comes with the scripting purpose, Python has a better SDK with respect to all other clouds than uh, your Go programming language. So with respect to user base, With respect to easiness of the programming language, I definitely like Python. But with respect to efficiency, if you have microservice kind of complex architectures, you can go with the Go programming language. Okay. Uh, Not much code write down in the Python and go under DevOps, mostly says in YAML written. Yeah, definitely. Most of the deployment files are written in the YAML format. Okay. But some kind of automation task, everything you cannot do with the YAML. So there are chances where you need to write some kind of logics. There definitely you're gonna need any of the programming language. That will be a better thing. But ideally go with the Python, because if there is some dependencies with respect to cloud, Python definitely has better, as I said earlier, better SDK than other programming language, and it's easy. Okay. On AWS Lambda, you use Python and Go. We'll discuss the topic later. Okay. Should I start with the AZ900 or go directly for? Okay. Which cloud certification would you recommend?
Okay, I'll take this.
Yeah.
For AI/ML engineering, should I start with the AZ900 or directly start with the AI900? So actually, if you are interested into AI/ML only, so in that case, I would recommend to go with the only the AI fundamental thing. But if you're interested to start AI/ML with Azure, then would recommend to go with the AZ900 plus AI900. Okay, so it depends basically which platform you are looking for to go with the AI and ML thing. So accordingly, you can choose for, like, let's say with the Azure you are looking to go for the AI/ML, then go for the both. But only AI/ML, then go for the AI900, or maybe you can do the specific custom courses also. Okay.
Hmm. So, which DevOps tools are most in demand? So, basically, with respect to cloud, all three clouds are in demand: AWS, Azure, GCP. These are the must things. Cloud wise, I can say if you learn any of these three, that's fine. Conceptual understanding, you can understand the second cloud, second and third as well. And with respect to other tools, these are the most basic tools, at least you should know. So Linux definitely should be known to you. Jenkins is always in demand for CI/CD. Okay, but right now, if I say the recent market trends are more shifting towards GitHub Actions, but right now the current user base for Jenkins is more. Terraform has single-handedly dominated the infrastructure as a code department for DevOps, Docker, and Kubernetes for containerization. Ansible, you're gonna need for configuration management. Prometheus and Grafana is there. Apart from that, ELK stack is also there. Any of these two, ELK stack or Prometheus and Grafana, definitely gonna help you. Snig, it's optional. Most of the companies use, some of the companies don't use. And with respect to scripting language, I would recommend Python 3 rather than Bash, because a lot of things more than Bash you can do in the Python. So I would recommend these tool sets. Ideally, you should know before jumping into DevOps. If you know these things, you are more than a DevOps engineer. That's what I can say. Yeah. I want to learn
And Git is
MLOps.
also always there. Git or GitHub, you should be adding.
Yeah. I want to learn MLOps after DevOps. So, what is the learning path should I follow? So, if you have to jump DevOps to MLOps, first thing you need to understand what are the fundamentals of data science. You should know machine learning, deep learning, at least up to basic level. Right now, I will not recommend you should go and learn each and every algorithm in depth, but at least how it works you should know. Then you should start with the AI agents. What are the agentic techniques, how to perform the principles of AI agents, how to develop then context caching. These kinds of small topics are there, but prior to that you should know machine learning, deep learning, then architecture of transformers, and then you are good to go with the roles. Then you are good to go with the AI agents. Once you are done with the AI agents, how to develop an AI agents, I can say you are good MLOps person. Yeah.
Uh, Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you for the wonderful session, and thank you everyone for joining today also. But I before that, I want to as like things which we have discussed over here. So I would request Abhishek to ask the question for this webinar. So then participant can answer that, and then we can continue with the series, and we can shortlist our participants who is basically actively participating. So I'm just giving repeating all those steps that you need to follow. First of all, very first thing is you need to answer the question which has been asked by the expert in the series. Second thing is you can simply comment down in the section, like later on also, if you are looking for this recorded session, that is also fine, you can put down in the comment. Second thing is, like, whatever is your keynote, like let's say here Abhishek spent like 1 hour to deliver his session and then share his thoughts and everything. So on that case, here you can simply go ahead and just put your thoughts on the LinkedIn and tag 𝗏𝗏 TechMate, me, or maybe Abhishek, and then we should also be aware that okay, what are the key things that has been key takeaway from this webinar. So at least if we are spending, or any expert who's coming up and sharing his knowledge, so at least we guys are attentive, and then what are the key things which we should be able to understand. So in that case, just write down a note on your webinar, post on the LinkedIn. And again, I'm repeating, it's not about one webinar, it's an entire series that we have planned for this month. Okay, so after end of every webinar, we are going to ask a question, and then you need to post it on the LinkedIn. So end of this series, you will be getting the swags. Okay, not at the end of the webinar. So that is the second thing we need to do. Apart from that, just adding on the Ashish question, as he has asked that okay, what path he has followed. So we are also launching our batch on the AWS DevOps, and that will include the MLOps. And Abhishek is also going to teach that session. So if you guys are interested to learn that also, you guys can directly reach out to us, and then maybe we can enroll you in the batch also. So that is a separate ongoing batch and those things. So it's not part of the webinar. This webinar is basically we are picking up some certain topics that is basically value add on for everyone. But yes, like if you are specifically looking for a learning path where that will be helpful for you to enhance or upskill to the end-to-end solution, where you will get a hands-on also, lab material also, curriculum also, and then live session also. So Abhishek is itself taking some batches, or maybe from his TechMate side also we are taking. So you guys can directly reach out to for enrolling on those classes. Okay, apart from that, you already must have received the links in the comment section for joining our WhatsApp group and follow us on the LinkedIn. So when you are writing down the post, do tag us, and also you can enroll in our WhatsApp group, in the community group also. So whatever key updates, and also like if I have some project requirement or job requirement, that also I used to post over there. So you can simply enroll it, and then you can simply ask your question later on also if you have. Okay, so I guess Salman has one question, Abhishek, if you want to answer
So,
related
is
to
there
cyber.
any software which course would? Okay. So basically, I would recommend most probably go with the Snake because I have recently used that in the past couple of months, and I feel it deals with the most of the concerns with respect to vulnerabilities. It is not up to some extent where you are doing with some kind of hacking and all, but if you are interested in some kind of security stuff, I would recommend to go with the CEH, Certified Ethical Hacker. You will have hands-on lab along with that an MCQ based paper. So yeah, and in the 45,000 you might able to crack that exam. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Abhishek, and thank you everyone for joining the session. And I hope you found some interesting topics, and and you get some knowledge with this session. So stay tuned for the next webinar, which we are going to conduct maybe in the next week. So we'll keep you posted on our LinkedIn and also on our WhatsApp community. So thank you for joining, and thank you, Abhishek, for joining us today.
Thank you.